Hey, John Ty here, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit. Our guest today has 40 years experience as a business mentor helping entrepreneurs. He's also a highly acclaimed speaker and business author with over 20 books published since 1977. And he has the distinction of having had bestsellers through mail order, traditional bookstores, and Kindle. His 1977 book, Debt Free with Financial Kung Fu, it's a bit of a tongue twister there. Debt Free with Financial Kung Fu has never been out of print. And his 1981 book, Talk and Grow Rich, was the first book to introduce NLP, or Neuro Linguistic Programming, to the business world. And, you know, that's a huge thing today. He's raised millions in equity for startups and early stage companies and has helped many people become millionaires through his mentor series. So it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Ron G Holland. Ron, welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit.
John, thank you for that, and thank you for such a lovely introduction. And I have to say, before you start again, what a pleasure it is to be here. What an honor. And I would like to thank you on behalf of everybody listening for putting on the summit, because I really do think you're putting so much help and information out there. It really will help a lot of people. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. And nice to think it's useful for people. And it's going to be, it has been quite a lot of work to put it all together, but it's been fun. And we're going to have 20 plus hours of great content at the end of it. So as I say, we've spoken a number of times before, but it's great to have you on the summit. I love the fact that you've got that distinction of having had, you know, the bestsellers in multiple different ways. So you've got some...
That just shows my age.
I wasn't going to mention that. You've got. I know you've got some great content lined up for us, but before we get into that, just give us a little bit of your sort of publishing career overview, if you like, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, very quickly. You mentioned my very first book, Debt Free with Financial Kung Fu. That came out in 1977 as a result of me as a very, very young entrepreneur having the largest chain of motorcycle shops in London, nearly went bankrupt, and turned it around to phenomenal success. And I wrote a book about it, and the book became a mail order bestseller. And it did more than that for me, because it got me excited about being an author, and it really was a lot of fun doing it. And I thought, wow, I'd like to do much more of this. And I thought I'd go and go off to the States, and I went to Beverly Hills to write my next book, which was Talk and Grow Rich.
I should try that.
And that became a bookstore bestseller, 1981. Yeah, and I was still a young man then. And so that was fantastic. And like I say, it's been, 27 different languages. It's still going strong. It's an audio product as well. And then since 1981 to now, I probably written another 20 odd, always business books, psychology, right and left brain thinking, that kind of thing. And only recently, we're going back a few weeks now, The Millionaire Within was another #1 bestseller, 28 times #1 bestseller on Kindle. So that's the whole kind of 37 years of kind of publishing history in like 4 minutes, but a whole lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, so great. Well, congratulations on your most recent bestseller. I saw that when it came out as well. And a very brief history there, but I think it's important because, you know, you're so highly qualified to be talking about this. And I wanted people to be aware of, you know, that that's a lot of books. 20 odd books is a lot of books to have out.
Yep,
and
a lot of work.
But great that you've got that sort of cross-channel experience in terms of selling through these different channels. So Ron, what is it you're going to be talking to us about today?
I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different. I'm going to share 20 things that most authors and publishers will not tell you. And I'm going to give you the farm. I'm going to tell you everything from the heart. And there's 20 tips here, but people will take them or leave them or whatever. But I believe this is information that people really need to hear, not what they want to hear. This is what they need to hear, so they can start assimilating it and going, wow, this is beginning to make sense for me. And hopefully these little gems, these little nuggets will be the glue that holds their careers together for them.
Well, that sounds great, Ron. So I'm going to hand over to you to kick things off with number one.
That's fantastic. Now, before I do that, I'd just like to read out a little review that I've had from somebody, and it's particularly pertinent to this evening's conversation. And over the years, I don't know how many millionaires I've helped create, but it's a lot. And this one, I think our listeners this evening will find particularly interesting. And it begins, "Thank you, Ron. Thanks to your help, the Laptop Millionaire has become a New York Times bestseller. Already, many doors are opening in the USA, including seminar invitations, TV and radio interviews, and even the possibility of doing an infomercial. So far, the book has netted me $2 million. Exciting times. Thank you again. Warm regards, Mark Anastasi, Laptop Millionaire." So I just think that is kind of pertinent, because I know people are here to make big successes out of their publishing careers, and that just shows you what can be done. So tonight's advice is going to be very, very pragmatic. And indeed, the number one tip that I've got is be pragmatic.
Ron, sorry, I just jumped in as you were giving that one. Wanted to mention, because I'm not sure if you're aware, that Mark actually has been one of the guests on the Self-Publishing Summit. So he did a session with us on how to get a New York Times bestseller, which was obviously a great session.
Okay.
Focused on that. So really interesting that you should bring up that testimonial from Mark.
Okay, no, that's interesting.
Back to you. You're giving us the number one tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one tip: be pragmatic, particularly about the figures. Now, the reason why I mention that, over a long period of time, and particularly on Kindle, I've talked to so many people, and their starting point is, "Ron, I'd like to make 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month." And I say, well, how are you going to do that? Well, if I sell 10,000 books with $1 each, that's $10,000. If I sell 30,000 books a month, that's $30,000. Or even if I only sell 15,000 books a month with $2 in each, that's 30,000. And I have to say, I don't think that's being pragmatic. Now, if you can do that, fantastic. But I think you've got to start doing your own thinking and work out, in your experience, what is really going to work and how you're going to make money out of this industry. So I always say to people, particularly newbies, think small, but think effective. And I say a much better formula is, say if you only sold 100 books, but 2% of those people loved you and your product so much that they gave you 5 grand or 10 grand for mentoring them, holding their hand, selling you their product, or whatever it is they're going to give you some money for. That is a much, much more pragmatic approach to publishing than thinking you're going to sell 10, 15, 20, 30,000 copies a month. So think small. Even if you only sell 100 books, what is the message going to be in that book that is so powerful it prompts the person to phone up and say, "Can you help me? Can you mentor me? What do you charge?" And that is a success formula, I believe, that really, really works. Now, if you go on to sell 15,000 books a month with $1 in each, or 30,000 books, that's fantastic. And obviously, we're all aiming at that. But I'm saying, do your own thinking here. Be pragmatic. It might not go like that, but even if it doesn't, you can still create fabulous success for yourself. That's the message.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing about that, if you've got that back end product or service, is, you talked about thinking small. You don't have to sell huge numbers of books to actually be making a good living, have a really nice lifestyle business, which you can then scale and focus on the marketing. And it takes the pressure off just generally in life and in business and in your creative self, in terms of whether you're writing or creating content. If you know there's cash coming in, life is a lot easier than if you're a struggling author.
Absolutely. And I think this is pragmatic advice, because everybody wants to get $10,000 a month coming in by selling a lot of books. But I think it's much more realistic to say, well, even if we only sell a few, how are we going to create success in this industry?
Good.
Number
Okay,
two.
so that's,
Number
yeah,
two.
number two. Let's do it.
Yeah. Get hold of some capital. Right now, I know a lot of authors think, wow, this is a business that I can get into and start making money. But the real truth is it all costs money. And capital is the lifeblood of any business, not just publishing. It really is. And again, pragmatic thinking. Get hold of some money by hook or by crook from the Bank of Ma and Pa, sell something, remortgage your house. I don't really care. Get hold of some capital so you're not struggling because and we're going to talk about some of the things where that money is going to go on. But believe you me, and I've been doing this a long time, the reason why my mail order bestseller, my bookstore bestseller, and now my Kindle bestsellers, I put a serious kind of marketing budget to make those things happen. And I think it's very naive to think you're going to publish a book, particularly on Kindle, and the day you've published it, you're immediately buried by 2.8 million other books. How are you going to lift yourself up above those? So my message is everything costs money. Don't be naive, be pragmatic, get hold of some money so you can really kind of create a success in the industry.
Good. And are you're gonna touch on some of the points, some of the things that you would be spending that money on as we go through?
Yeah, absolutely. Good. But yeah, there's more little tips here. And number three is get time alone to write. Now, obviously, over a long period of time, I've talked to lots of authors and they always say to me, how do I write 20 books? Many of them become bestsellers. How's it done? Well, the point is I can see a lot of people struggling and striving and balancing and juggling all the balls in the air, trying to run a day job, trying to run a family, trying to run the family card, trying to run 5 kids, and their life gets in the way. There's just not enough time to write. So how do I do it? Well, sometimes I have to work all through the night. I might get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and write between 3 and 5. It might be a different formula to that. I might get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do some writing. But the truth is, I know what is needed is unbroken concentration to focus on turning out that product. And you might get a high. I had 6 months on and wasn't a desert island, but it was an island off of New York and Connecticut called Fisher's Island, and I spent 6 months on that island writing Talk and Grow Rich. After I left Beverly Hills, you might get time on a boat. You might be able to do some house sitting for a friend or somebody you don't even know, where nobody knows where you are. You've secreted yourself away, you've locked all the doors, and you've just got your head down. And I think it's naive to think you're going to be able to write something good and turn out something that's going to sell well if you've just rushed it out and not really thought it through. So that time alone, and to my mind, John, this is a decision you've got to make. How are you going to create those blocks of time where you can create that brilliant, brilliant product?
Yeah, and I've got to agree with that. I think block time is absolutely crucial. And actually, if you can create that block time where you are not interrupted, and you have to sort of train, you can't necessarily go away somewhere remote physically, but you might be able to go to a room of your house and train people that you're not being interrupted during that time. And that block time is so much more efficient than trying to write when you're constantly being interrupted, or the phone's going, or you've got your mobile there, or you've got instant messaging coming through on the computer. Shut down Facebook, shut down everything.
I agree. Shut down everything. Shut down everything.
Yeah, you can do more in those, let's say it's a 2-hour block, you do more in those 2 hours than somebody else can do in a whole day if it's completely uninterrupted. But you've got to develop that habit, and the hardest part, I think, is training the people around you, family, friends, work colleagues, whatever it may be, that during that time is sacred. You don't get interrupted. But if you can do that, you just create that discipline and do it, you will get your book written much, much faster.
Yep. Absolutely. So you're right. It is a case of telling family and friends, but it is also self-discipline of shutting off your mobile phone, your computer, everything else. That unbroken concentrated effort is absolutely crucial. And we're going to talk about more time alone in the next bullet point, which is time alone to get through the humps and hurdles. Now, I'm not talking about writing. I'm talking about getting your book up on Kindle. I'm talking about solving all the problems and having that quiet mind so you can hear the small, still voice of how to unlock the internet. That study, thinking and planning time and doing experiments, because most people think this internet marketing and making all of this stuff happen and publishing on the internet is a doddle. But for a lot of people, it isn't. And I'm saying if you're finding it a struggle, you will never unlock it with the TV blaring away in the background, kids running around your feet, the cat jumping in and off of your computer. You need that time alone. So again, you've got that clarity of thought. You can get over those humps and hurdles. And many of the times what I do, I come up against a block, and it happens over and over again. And what I do, I click on that screen and I try to get over that thing that's stopping me move forward. And I often find that if I sleep on it overnight, when I get up fresh in the morning, suddenly I get on the computer with a very, very clear mind, and I found a way to unblock that problem. And suddenly I'm moving forward again until the next little block comes up. And what I would say to people, I don't believe there are any big blocks. So I don't know how to unblock big blocks, because there aren't any. They're all small, little niggling blocks, and this is where people give up. But those who make a lot of money out of publishing and internet marketing and making this thing happen, they spend the time alone. I can't stress that enough. Time alone, focus, concentrated effort, getting through the humps and hurdles. And we've all had to do it. I bet you have. I know I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of second that again, because particularly the first time you do it, if you're publishing your first book or writing your first book as you're listening to this now, if you hit snags, you're not alone. It happens to everybody. I promise you, second time around, it will be so much easier. And either, find a course or a book or a Google tutorial, a YouTube tutorial or something like that, or somebody who's done it before as a mentor or a mastermind partner. But, find a way to get through those different hurdles. And, once you've done that, then you have the option to do it over and over again and have multiple books. It'll be so much easier next time around. Plus, you give yourself the confidence of knowing that whatever it is, you can break through that issue.
I agree. Absolutely. And I know there's people listening to us now, John, if they kind of analyze their failures as to why perhaps they haven't made this happen before, that it'll suddenly dawn on them the reason why they gave up was for some tiny little hump or hurdle they couldn't get over. And I'm saying if you just go back and address that and know, absolutely know, in this industry, you're going to have to overcome humps and hurdles every single day of the week. So get used to it. Find your own little way. My little way is getting on there and trying, and then often sleeping on it overnight and coming at it fresh. But find your own way. Everybody's got a different way of doing this, but you've got to find a way of getting over those humps and hurdles. And I'm saying having that clarity of thought, that quiet mind, so you can hear the small, still voice of how to unlock these problems is absolutely crucial. And we just talk about Talk and Grow Rich for a minute. That book came out in 1981. The first chapter is called The Principle of Power, and the formula in there is silence, stillness, and solitude. And I do believe that silence, stillness, and solitude is the solution for solving problems on the internet.
Yeah,
just listen to that small, still voice, and you'll find a way of unlocking those problems. And they're all small, but if you let them, they can block you. And you mustn't get blocked.
That's it.
Okay?
And I think it's a good, just to wrap up on that, I just think, that idea that you've just given us about, think of these things as small problems that you can overcome. That mindset shift is a big game changer. If you can get that, if you can adopt that mindset that you can break through these issues, then you have the option to do whatever you want and build a fantastic lifestyle business through your publishing, and if you have back-end products or services through that as well.
Yep. Obviously, we're going to talk about back-end products, and we've already touched on them. But that is a real key, and I've got a special little segment there because I think that's crucial. But there's a few more little kind of things, all pragmatic advice. So the next one, number 5, is research a tiny niche, or as we say in the States, a niche, a tiny niche or a tiny niche, and make it yours. Now, the thing is here, John, the internet is vast. I used to call it like the billion-dollar infrastructure, but the truth is it's a trillion-dollar infrastructure. It is massive. You can't do it all. So do a little bit of it and do it well. And we're going to talk later about doing something that you can do, but specialize on something and make it your own. Don't kid yourself you can do it all and harness it all, because it's too big. So the more you can niche it down, and that kind of does take a little bit of focus, and you really do need to do some self-analysis and be your own severest critic, because I know a lot of people do try to do it all, but because it's so vast, they don't manage to make any impact on it at all. So it's getting that mindset right. And I know what we're talking about here today on my talk is all pragmatic information, but don't forget, I do write books about dreaming, about big thinking, employing the billion-dollar biocomputer, but I do believe all of that is good stuff. But here, the time right now is to be pragmatic in everything that we do, so we can really get this up and running for a lot of people, whereas they might have failed before. Okay.
Yeah. And I think you need both, don't you? You need that time to be creative and dream, but also you need to have these sort of pragmatic tools and tactics as well to turn those dreams into reality. And I like the point about niching down. We're both in the UK here, so we'll niche. And first of all, it makes it easier because it's much less overwhelming. But also, you have the advantage then if you become an expert in a particular subject area, and you don't necessarily, not necessarily, you don't have to be an expert in this to begin with. You can become the expert. It allows you to bring out more than one book in that area, related books, and cross-sell those books to your existing customers, which is a very effective way of marketing. If they've bought one book, they're very likely, if they enjoyed it, to buy your other books as well.
No, absolutely.
Only if they're related, in a related area, and that applies both to fiction and non-fiction writers equally.
Yeah, very, very much so. Yep. So number 6 is the success formula that never fails. And again, I think a lot of authors, particularly newbies, get it wrong. And I would say the formula is 5% product, 95% marketing. Now, the truth is, even if the product is only 5%, you still have to give it 110%. So what to do? Well, be your own severest critic. I am not really a big believer in getting other people to write your products for you. However, I don't mind if you get a ghostwriter or an editor in after you've done it, and after you've given it your own 100%, 110%, and put the farm in, put the magic in, put everything in that you know about the topic, and made it the best you can be. And even if you're no good at writing, rewrite it 10, 20, 30 times. I do all the time. And then I will still get editors, ghostwriters, polishers, people who know grammar better than me to make it better. But the point is, I will give that product everything that I've got. And I really do believe when you've got the most brilliant product that you can create, and had it edited and had it polished and made it the best that it can be, then the real work begins. And we were talking about earlier on, what do you need some money for? Well, the truth is you need money for lots of things, just to get your site up and running and your books on Kindle and everything else. But marketing costs money. And the truth, and it is unfortunate, let's say you had $1,000 for a marketing budget, or £1,000. It's easier to lose that and not get a return on investment first time around than say, wow, I invested $1,000 on marketing and it suddenly returned me $2,000 or $3,000, which would be fantastic. None of this stuff is easy. None of this stuff is easy. And it would be so easy to say, oh, I'm going to put 1,000 in pay-per-click or everything. But just going through that learning curve, or offline advertising, doesn't matter where you put that money, it is easier to lose it and not get a return on investment. And today, after all, is about pragmatic advice. So I'm saying get hold of some capital and spend that money very, very carefully on your marketing endeavors, on your budget, trying to make things happen, and monitor every step of the way. And what you're looking for, John, is a success formula that works, where you go, wow, I put in $500 and I can actually see a return. So if you were kind of doing marketing for Amazon Kindle books, even if you were spending your money on don't forget, your money goes out immediately, but you don't see that money come back in for another 90 days. So you need money to be able to snowball up your campaign. And that's what, wouldn't it be lovely if while you were doing that, somebody would have sent you $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 for a mentoring package? And we're going to talk about back-end products in a minute. But wouldn't it be lovely if you had somebody sending you some money so you could still keep feeding your marketing campaign? And I do believe it's where a lot of people go wrong. They're not really thinking through this thing of the learning curve of the marketing spend. They're immediately thinking they're going to get a return on the investment, and it patently isn't true. And the point is, people like you, people like me, we create these bestsellers one after another, but there is a real formula in doing it, and it all costs money, and you've really got to go through that learning curve first. And I'm trying to give people pragmatic information here, so that penny drops and they don't just kind of have a failure and then give up. Everything I'm talking about this evening is to help people create a success.
Yeah, and I just want to pull a couple of key points out of what you've just said. First of all, the learning curve side of it, and you're absolutely right to say, I mean, I've done marketing campaigns that have had little or no return, and this is marketing, especially direct response marketing online. It's as much an art as it is a science. You have both elements to that, and testing is a very key part of that, and that's sort of beyond what we've got time to talk about today. But be aware that it is a learning curve, and if you do get a return on your investment first time you try it, fantastic. You're doing better than I did. So that's the first point I wanted to make. But the other point I want to make, and you sort of touched on this indirectly, is be thinking not just about the initial return on your investment, but also the lifetime value of your customer. And this is where, if you've got a back-end product, that's fantastic, or service, but also if you have other books that you can cross-promote to people once they get into your funnel. So it's as well as that thing, just be thinking long-term, and be thinking sort of broadly about the lifetime value of those customers. And you may not know the lifetime value of your customers straight away, but you want to try and track that stuff through so that you get that information. Is very crucial if you're going to do paid advertising to sell your books, products, or services.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would just like to close the loop on that little topic just by saying one thing. Getting a return on your investment first time around, John, I call that a miracle. So I think you've got to go through that learning curve. And to be honest with you, I think you've got to come up with lots of $1,000 to try on lots of different things before you find something that works for you. Right. So don't be surprised. Go on.
Yeah. What I was going to say, though, just so I don't want to scare people too much, is, especially when you're starting off, don't throw huge chunks of money at things. Test small. If you're doing Facebook ads or pay-per-click ads or advertising on websites, whatever it may be, or you can advertise on Amazon now, try things, but try it with small amounts of money, see what things are working, what things not. You'll learn a lot from just doing that and going through that process. And then as you get more experienced, as you start to see what works, you can then take the ones, kill the campaigns that aren't working, take the ones that are, run with them, test, iterate, improve. And that's how you can sort of gradually build up your skill set and also your results and get that return on investment without, breaking the bank.
Yeah, no, absolutely good advice. So the next little pragmatic point is number 7, develop incredible back-end products. It's where the money is. So if you remember my formula, sell 100 books and get 2%, 2 of those people out of that 100 to pay you some money for something, mentoring, consultancy, doing some network marketing, whatever it is that you're good at. That message needs to be in your product so people love your product so much they go, wow, I wonder if Ron can do that for me. So one of my books that brings in money, it is incredible, but I've got, I don't know, 2 or 3 books out there on hypnosis. And of course, I've helped people become wealthy, but not just through business acumen, but by putting programs in people's minds. So I say, if you can make up your own hypnosis audios or whatever, fantastic, but you might want me as your personal hypnotherapist. And of course, money comes in because people say, Ron, I've read all your books, I've listened to the audios, but can you give me some programs that will help me become a success? So that's another back-end product that I've developed. You will have to develop your own back-end products, but you need to be thinking in terms of, why would people give you $1,000? Why would they give you 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever it is? But that's a pragmatic way. And obviously, if you've got money going out on marketing, you need those big hunks of money coming in. And with a little bit of forethought, you can do it. And not only can you do it, I believe you must do it. I do not believe you ought to be relying just on royalty income. Concentrate on the back end products, develop incredible back end products that really, really help people. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on that, Ron. I'm all for the back end products. I think. And it's not to say, I mean, we had Steve Scott on earlier in the summit. Now, Steve is very much focused on the royalties, and he's doing tremendously well. He does 5 figures every single month, and he has about 50 books out. So you can do it by creating great content and just focusing on selling books. But almost every other speaker we've had on the summit has some sort of back-end product or services and advocates that. And I think it's a lot easier if you take the time to really get to know your customers, your prospects, create stuff that is really fits in with what they want and solves the problems that they have. It's a lot easier to sell $1,000 product than it is to sell 500 books and make $2 per book. So you want to be doing both. And Ron, I don't know if this is something that you've experienced, but this is something that is interesting because it's come up a number of times with a number of different speakers where people have said that they have traffic and getting leads in from all sorts of different sources, but the best leads they get in terms of conversion very often are through Amazon, because it's the biggest buyer search engine. People are coming into the funnel and actually paying to do that because they're buying the book. So it all ties together nicely. You can be making royalties from the book. And if the book is successful, you can run with that and keep developing the marketing and gradually increase your sales over time. Meanwhile, also be selling the back-end products and getting larger chunks of cash in as well. So, great strategy. I'm all over the back-end products and services.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely crucial. And funnily enough, John, I think it is very important because I talk to authors practically every day of the week, same as you do. And most of them are focused on their book. They know about marketing, but I always say, what's your back end product? And I don't know, John, 90%, it really is 90% of the people say, I haven't thought of that. And I go, wow, what a wake up call. You've really got to be thinking of where the $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 come from, and the funny thing is the royalty income, particularly if we're talking of Amazon Kindle, the royalty income that you create today, you don't get for 90 days. Your back end product, you get instantaneously. right? So
Yeah.
that is a clever thing. If somebody loves your mentoring package or your webinar or your hypnosis package, they'll send you $1,000 or $5,000 the same day. And that really will help you with your marketing campaign.
Yeah, yeah. And just one final point I'd like to touch on before we, we're on the back end process, because you're talking about some big numbers here: 5, 10, $25,000. That is a big,
but also
£500. Yes, exactly. So it could be a $97 product or a $500 product or a £1,000 product, whatever your currency is.
Absolutely.
I price in dollars simply because the majority of I'm UK based, majority of my clients are in the US. And but very often it's as easy to sell $1,000 product as it is to sell $100 product. So you might as well spend the time and energy selling $1,000. But to get over that, if this is a brand new concept to you, to get over that mindset issue, which I think we all have, at least to begin with, is just to really focus on serving your client, your customer, your prospect, and really create something of great value to them. And that means getting to know them, surveying them, finding out what it is they want to solve. You probably have some good ideas anyway, but really talk to people. If you can create something which you can be really proud of, then that makes it a lot easier to sell it at those higher price points, because it's congruent. You feel like you're giving tremendous value. Because I am aware that it's you and I, Ron, we've been doing this for a while. It's very easy to talk about these big numbers. I'm trying to remember back to a few years ago when this was all brand new for me, and that seems so alien. So I just wanted to make that point there, that create great stuff, find out what people want, and that will help you adjust to this mindset shift of selling what seem like expensive products or services. But if they provide that value for people, I've spent as much as $10,000 on a course. I've spent $5,000, all sorts of things.
We all have.
But and I think and it sounds a bit self-serving. It sounds like it's a bit of a cliche, but the best investment you can make is in yourself and in your education. So the returns I've got on those big investments in courses and seminars and mentoring and all of those things are way in excess of what it's cost me. But it is, I'm conscious that it takes a little bit of adjusting to if you are new to this world. But it is important. It's life-changing if you can start to do that and have that as I would say a supplement to your writing income, but actually it's likely to eclipse it several times if you get it right.
No, and I have to say I agree with you. Next one, number 8, cultivate a mastermind group. Now that mastermind group started with Andrew Carnegie in the kind of 1920s, 1930s over there in America. He was the richest man in the world at the time, and his great secret of success was surround yourself with people who are cleverer than you, who can help you. And it's something that I've had for a long time. And I absolutely know I've probably got maybe 30 people around me that I can phone at any time for advice, for help, for motivation, for unlocking problems. And these could be friends, they could be work colleagues, they could be other authors. And I believe people listening to this program must stop thinking they've got to do all of this themselves. Lock into some other people and maybe even form a mastermind group to help each other solve problems, particularly if you're in the self-publishing arena. But it's having that extra brain power to unlock problems quickly that I think is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, again, another great point, because being an author and being an online marketer as well can be a very lonely road. I'm in an office, just me,
daunting.
We're talking and so on, but it's an online thing. And I think having a mastermind it's great for the problem solver thing, but also sometimes just having that support is great. We all have those ups and downs, and good things happen, bad things happen. Sometimes you're in a bit of a slump or a bit of a rut. It's nice to have people that you can chat to, who understand where you're coming from. They're going through similar things, because in my world here, my sort of physical world, most of the people that I talk to that do similar things, they're not around here. They're you're on the other, 150 miles away. We're both in the UK, but you're a ways off. I've got lots of people in the States that I'm in contact with, but nobody here who really fully understands what it is that I do. They support me, which is great, but they don't really understand it. And I think having that mastermind there of people who are in that same sort of place as you, just to give you the moral support, the encouragement, and help with the problem solving and the idea swapping. Hugely, hugely powerful.
Yeah, very, very powerful. And I have to say, I use my mastermind group, not every day of the week, but certainly 3-4 times a week. I'm always on to them. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? How do you unlock that? And it's much better than trying to do it all on your own. Yep.
Yeah. Good.
Number 9. Yeah. Number 9, pragmatic thought here. Understand paid and free traffic before you embark upon them, because they both cost money, and you really do want to be talking to lots and lots of people before you put your hand in your pocket, and try to understand them first. And my advice would be, even if you're thinking of saying, well, I can't do a pay-per-click campaign, I can't do my own PR, I can't do whatever it is, I would rather spend, even if it's only $100 to put your toe in the water, I would say try to understand it first before you part with your money. So let's just take one of those things, a pay-per-click campaign. If you're giving somebody the money to do it for you, but you don't understand it yourself, you're gonna have a real problem and trouble kind of assimilating it when they come back with results that are either successful or not working, whatever. But if you understand it, you'll be able to have an intelligent conversation with them, some dialogue. Well, what was the click too expensive? Was the keywords right? Were the keywords right? Were the negative keywords right? But if you don't understand the dialogue and what you're trying to accomplish, it's no good just parting with the money and expecting that person to create massive results for you. And it's a little bit like conventional PR in the media, in the press. If you're going to pay somebody to do a PR campaign, you really do need to understand it before you embark on it, because a lot of that PR, and over a 30-year period, I've been on the front covers of magazines, 2-3-page articles, fantastic stuff. But what a lot of people don't realize is those magazines that I've been on, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, I still show those to people today. So this stuff has an unbelievable value if you understand it. It doesn't all happen instantaneously. And I know a lot of newbies think,
Ron, I don't
know, success comes in the back door. And I really do believe that. So it's kind of understanding things before you part with your money. And you get that understanding by talking to lots of people and sharing ideas and experiences. And then, of course, the real learning curve comes in when you try to do it yourself. But at least then you've got the thoughts of 5, 10 or 15 other people as well. Yeah. Makes sense.
Absolutely. I think, great. It's great to outsource stuff. And I think that's important, just because otherwise it becomes overwhelming to try. There's so much to try and do yourself, but you do need to
absolutely
have at least some basic understanding of what it is you're actually doing, I think, to get the best results. And so, yeah, very much so.
Yep. Okay. Point number 10, and we touched on this earlier, but harness the $1 trillion infrastructure of the internet. Is there to do. Recognize it and harness it. Now, when I'm talking about the internet infrastructure, obviously it contains, I don't know how many billions of computers, probably 6 or 10 billion when it comes to computers, tablets, smartphones. Link them together, and that is the basis of the internet. Then you've got on there all of the platforms, of which there are thousands: Amazon, Google, YouTube. And I'm saying harness it, but try not to harness everything, right? So I would say, if you're going to harness Kindle, don't try to harness Kindle if you're not a good writer, right? Try and do something that you can do. If it's Google, make sure you're putting your energy into like I've done, creating a massive kind of presence for yourself. Put your energy where you're really going to get that kind of return on investment. YouTube, if you're good at making videos, concentrate on YouTube to drive people to your books. That's the main kind of thing there. Don't try to do everything. Right.
Yeah.
So on a lot of my stuff, on my Google stuff, I have not a full-time guy, but he spends a lot of time putting stuff up on Google for me, kind of creating that presence. And again, it's learning it first before you hand it over to somebody else. And that's the thing. But recognize that $1 trillion infrastructure is there for you to harness. And you've got to have that in your mind. How am I going to harness just a very, very small portion of that?
Yeah. And would you say that, you know, once you've mastered an area, you might or might not outsource it, you might want to then go on to master another area? And as I say, it's difficult if you start doing, you know, Google, Facebook, YouTube, you do a podcast, you're writing books, that can become overwhelming pretty quickly. That's a lot of things to try and master, but
it really can. It really can.
But maybe again, I suppose it's like a good, you know, Napoleon's dictum: a good general does not divide up his forces. So get good at one thing, master that, outsource it if you need to, and then you can start focusing some energy on something else if it makes sense, and probably apply an 80-20 analysis to it if it makes sense, and that's going to be a good traffic source for whatever it is you're promoting in terms of your books and your back-end services.
Yeah, I mean, on my particular kind of focus, I'm absolutely focused on Amazon. And every day I get calls from people saying, well, what about Kobe, Nookie, what all these other names? There's hundreds of other platforms. And I say, look, Amazon, I've got more than 400 million credit cards on file. They're absolutely huge. I forget how many, it's 1 billion hits a day or whatever it is. I've got to harness Amazon. I've got to make that bit working. I'm not really interested in spreading myself too thin, because believe you me, Amazon Kindle can keep me busy if I wanted it to 7 days a week. Just putting stuff up and fettling it and marketing it and making it happen. So I'm trying to say to people, try to niche in on something, that you're good at, and get it working. Now, after that, and particularly if you've got it working, money in and the pressure will be off. And then you're talking of a totally different ball game anyway, right? But I see too many people spreading themselves so thin, they never manage to get anything working, anything cash generative, and then it just all becomes problematic and overwhelming. And I just know the formula for success is focus, 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 harness a little bit of it and start getting cash coming in.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You like that? Okay. Number 11, make yourself head and shoulders above the competition. And again, I've used PR. I've got a massive profile on the internet. I get the word out there. I mean, every time I have a success, I phone people, I email people, because you never know where that is going to end up. And I know 50% of the people who kind of contact me say, gosh, yeah, I have heard of you. I read Talk and Grow Rich 30 years ago, whatever it is. And obviously that name is out there, that profile is out there, but every day I'm working on it. It's a relentless job of making yourself head and shoulders above the competition. You've got to keep at it and keep on and on and on, getting the word out there in as many different formats as you can think of. And I know a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, the nice thing about doing that is it is cumulative. That stuff stays online, and you end up with lots and lots of different ways for people to find you. And just so, you know, be consistent with doing that, taking that approach.
No, absolutely. So my next little pointer, pragmatic pointers, is obviously a good way of making things happen for yourself is to get JV partners on board. But I've got a formula there to get those JV partners on board. You've got to give to get. Now, those guys, the big players out there, they've got massive lists, they've got a massive client base, and if they want to, they can take you to the moon and back. Okay, so how do you get hold of those guys to give you the ride of lifetime. Because it's crucial that a very cost-effective marketing strategy get a ride on the back of people who've already been to the moon and back. So let me tell you a story, because I'm talking to the guy now. How did I tie up with John Ty? Right now, you might think Ron Holland, God, he's got a 30-year reputation. People are phoning him up all the time, and sometimes they do, but the real truth is I'm ultra proactive. I'm at it morning, noon and night. So I came across John's book, I think it was called Crush It with Kindle, and it was absolutely brilliant. Then, because it was so good, I read other stuff of his, and then I thought to myself, wow, there's a guy I could do business with. Then I realized he's got a podcast. I thought, wow, and I knew his podcast went all over North America. Wouldn't it be lovely if I was on John's podcast? So what did I do? So I went on Kindle and I gave 3 of his books 5-star reviews, because they were all brilliant. Put those reviews up there. That was my starting point. Then I emailed him and I said, John, love your books. I'm your greatest fan. I've put some 5-star testimonials. I've put some 5-star reviews up on 3 of your books. And by the way, while we're talking, there's probably some people I know that in the publishing arena, both in the UK and North America, that I could introduce you to. Now, I didn't say anything to John at that time about being a JV partner. Could I go on his podcast? Nothing. I just gave. I'm hoping I overwhelmed him. So what happened next? John says, oh, thank you for the reviews. Yes, I'd like you to introduce me to this one, that one, and the other one. And by the way, Ron, would you like to go on my podcast? Right now, the point is, I am not joking about this. If you want to get JV partners to promote your product, to take you to the moon and back, give to get. What can you give them, rather than just phoning them up and saying, will you promote my book? Will you do this? Can I come on your podcast? Because they'll probably say, well, who are you? I'm too busy, or they might not even get back to you. So don't forget, I'm a seasoned player. I'm giving you really pragmatic advice here. Give to get, pal people up, do something for them, blow their socks off, and hopefully if you blow their socks off enough, they'll come back to you and invite you into the inner circle. Okay, that's all I've got to say on that.
Okay, well, I'll just tie that up with you. That is exactly what happened. I actually knew who Ron was before he got in touch with me, so it was nice to hear from him. He didn't know me at that point, but I had seen Ron speak actually at a Mark Anastasia event in London. So I did know who Ron was, and then he got in touch with me, and I knew he'd be a great guest for the podcast. And I just want to agree with you on the point about, giving is the best way to start off a relationship if you want to have that JV relationship. And I had something quite recently. Obviously, we're not going to name names here, but and I hear this all the time in the industry, where somebody will sort of send out an email or do a Facebook post and say, would you? I got this thing coming up next week. Would you promote for it? Well, 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be no. If the person hasn't taken the time and trouble to build a relationship to begin with, they've just discovered you on Google or whatever, and thought that person would work, and then and secondly, it doesn't work if you give somebody a week's notice, because most serious marketers start booking their calendars out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in advance. Some people have basically got the whole of the year mapped out. So I just want to second everything Ron has just said. It's absolutely good. Build a relationship. Plus, if you build a relationship, Ron, we've corresponded a lot. We've talked. We've did the podcast interview. We're doing this interview now, but we talked a number of times on the phone as well, or on Skype, I think, rather than the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's just a much nicer way of doing business, because you've got that friendship, that relationship, and you've got that mutual support going on there. So. And it's great for business as well.
No, absolutely. Next pragmatic tip, number 13, be hands-on on everything, particularly the things that you can't do and don't want to do and want to outsource. So this is a real kind of cruncher, because you're saying, wow, I've got to do things that I can't do, that I don't want to do. I wanted to outsource that. And Ron's saying, be hands-on. And what I'm saying here is, be hands-on and understand it, so that when you outsource it, when you pay somebody to do it, when you get somebody else to do it, you understand it. And I know we touched on this in another format a little while back, but it's the same thing. Try and unlock these problems yourself. And I promise you faithfully, if you're really going to make money out of this, it will be little problems every single day of the week, and you're going to have to be your own best problem solver and get hands-on and understand things before you spend money outsourcing and paying other people to do it for you, and then you'll have a real understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that's enough on that, because we touched on it earlier.
I just want to make a quick point, because I think, just to recap, you're saying, that's, you want to take that approach both, with the marketing, but also with the, the practical stuff of maybe getting the book published and so on. And something that, this is from my personal experience, that, the last 6 years of being an entrepreneur, I've lost count of the hundreds and hundreds of different issues and problems that I've had to solve, and things I've had to learn to be able to run the business.
Me too.
And I was a corporate lawyer before I became an entrepreneur. And what was nice about that is you had the whole support network in place, whether it's, general office, secretarial staff, couriers, people running the canteen. Everything exists around you, so that you just have to do the law part. Everything else is taken care of. And then as an entrepreneur, that entire network gets taken away, and you have to do everything, at least to begin with. So, but the point I want to make about that, so again, from my personal experience, is that after a period of a few months, it's one of those things that I gradually realized, and finally the penny dropped, and I realized that, well, you know what? There is none of these problems that I can't solve one way or another. Either I can figure it out somehow, get help, do an online tutorial, or worst case scenario, if it's really so technical that it just makes no sense for me to learn how to do it at all, like, I'm not going to learn how to code necessarily. I do basic HTML now, but, I'm not going to learn how to build websites necessarily beyond WordPress, but I can outsource it. I can find somebody to outsource it. And I can, as Ron was saying, understand enough about the process to know, A, that I'm getting a good deal, I'm not getting ripped off, B, know what sort of questions to be asking. And that realization that there is no problem that you can't solve is very, very empowering. So I particularly want to stress this if you are just starting out. And, I know the whole publishing process plus the marketing on top of that can seem very overwhelming. But if you persevere with it and have that mindset of, I can figure this out, eventually you'll start to believe that, because that is the reality if you persevere with it. And at that point you become unstoppable, because that you'll be able to figure everything out.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Number 14, pragmatic advice. Get a hand-holding mentor. Now, I've been ever so fortunate in my career as a young man. I told you I had the largest chain of motorcycle shops in London, and got into financial problems. And fortuitously for me, I met the old Irishman, Seamus O'Rourke, that I mention in all of my books, in all of my audios. He ended up being my first mentor. And between us, we turned around my mini empire and made my first fortune. Then years later, I moved into the city of London and met Bruce Snyder, multimillionaire. He took me under his wing, and he was a mentor of mine for a long, long time. Now I have various mentors in publishing, internet marketing, all of that kind of thing, and I'm on the phone to them all the time. You need someone to give you a quantum leap so they can teach you ABC 1 2 3, ABC 1 2 3, exactly what to do every day of the week. And to have that person who's already been there and done it is absolutely invaluable. Otherwise, the truth is you're going through such a learning curve on so many things: the writing, the editing, the cover design, the marketing, the getting it out there. Oh, it's horrendous. Whereas if you've got a mentor who can just talk things through with you, who's done it before, that really will give you a quantum leap. And like I say, I've been fortunate enough to lock in or luck into mentors all through my career, and they've always been bigger, better people than me, who've already been there and done it what I'm trying to do myself. So to my mind, that is pragmatic advice. And people will help you for different reasons. Not some mentors charge money, some do it for the love of it, but somehow or the other, find a mentor who can do that ABC 1, 2, 3 with you and for you, and things will open up for you. That will be the biggest quantum leap you've ever had. And I know, particularly in the States, a lot of people now have maybe 2 or 3 mentors, not just one. They know this mentoring process can take you to the moon and back very, very quickly. So I've, like I say, I've always used it, and it's worked for me. And I'm just saying, big recommendation.
Yeah.
Number 15, or did you want to come in on that? I was
just going to say, just to add to that and tie that in with the masterminds earlier, mentoring and masterminds together, there's a, that's a very, very powerful combination. And there's nothing like getting a mentor you have to learn so much as an author to get good at your craft. And you have to learn so much to market successfully online. Plus it's changing all the time. And then you got the business side of it, and I just want to touch on this, Ron. A lot of authors in particular have a bit of that perfectionist streak, and there's I come across this thing, and I've suffered from this myself, which is that you want to figure out everything for yourself. But my advice is get over that, get that help from mentors wherever you can get it, because say you have so much to learn anyway. Let somebody help you to fast track that process.
Yeah, I agree. Number 15, a copywriting formula for success. Now, in this industry, a lot of people say, oh, you've got to get a copywriter. You can't do it yourself. Now, the truth is, over the years, I have used copywriters, but I still believe if you can write the copy yourself, do so. And I learned that from Joe Carbo, who wrote The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. He was looking around his warehouse one day, and he came across boxes and boxes of these little spyglasses that you put in your front door, so you can see through the door who's on the other side knocking on your door. And he thought to himself, how am I going to sell that lot? Who wants to buy one of these little spyglasses for your front door? And he put it in his kind of subconscious mind, what I call the biocomputer. And a few days later, he was driving down the freeway. He swerved off the freeway, grabbed hold of his pen and paper, and wrote out the headline: secret device allows you to look through neighbors' fences, hidden doors, see things that you're not meant to see. Anyway, he wrote this brilliant copy. So not only did he sell the 3 boxes of spyglasses for looking through people's front doors that he had on his shelves, but he had to go out and invest in thousands of them, because he shifted tens of thousands of these things. And he said, really and truly, if you know your product better than anybody else and put it into your subconscious mind, what do people want to hear about that product, and let your subconscious mind assimilate it, you will come up with mind-blowing headlines and copy. And I believe that's far, far better than paying somebody 2 or 3 grand for a sales letter or a full-page advert. Try to do it yourself, but let the copywriting be a product of your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And I really think that works.
Yeah. And again, I think it is a great skill, obviously crucial, absolutely crucial for marketing. And like any skill, you get better with practice and also testing. Again, A/B split testing for headlines and adverts and landing pages will really help you improve your copywriting, because you get to see which things are working, and if you get really good at copywriting, that could be a business in itself. If you enjoy writing You could get paid the 3,000, 5,000. Sometimes, people will pay $50,000 for a really good sales letter because they'll get many times that amount back from selling their product or service if the sales letter works.
No, absolutely.
It's a lot of work, but it has the potential to turbocharge your business, but also if you wanted to provide you with a whole brand new business in being a copywriter.
Yep, absolutely. So my best advice there, try to do your own copywriting. Next pragmatic point, number 16, really understand how viral works. And by viral, in our industry, above all other industries, books are still sold by word of mouth. So really and truly, create your own viral. Try to think of why people will tell other people about your book. So obviously, make it a brilliant title, make the content as best it can be, put in there, please tell 2 friends about this product. Get up as many reviews as you can get, and find a way of getting friends to do reviews, whatever. But it's having those reviews and getting that word out there kind of promotes that viral thing. And obviously the internet lends itself to viral. Create a funny YouTube video. If you can't do that yourself, work with a friend who's good at YouTube videos, but do these things that create that viral response. And find your own way. Everybody talks about viral, but not too many people really understand it. And to my mind, I know a lot of my success that I'm getting out there on the internet, on Amazon Kindle in particular, is because the word of mouth is happening, and I can track it, I can monitor it, I can see that people are telling others about it. And the point is, if somebody recommends a book once, you might not go and buy it. On the second time, you might not go and buy it. But if you hear it from 3 different people, I promise you will go out and buy it. That is the number one way how books are sold. So do everything that you can to invoke that viral kind of mechanism out there and take advantage of the internet. Again, somebody emailed a book to me this morning. Ron, have you read this? It's brilliant. And because I came from a good friend of mine, I will go out and buy it. No problem. Because that's how it works. And just understanding, if I was you, people listening, they ought to write that word down, viral, in big block letters and underline it and start letting their biocomputers process it, because it is so important.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, thanks so much for that really powerful reminder, because I think we think so much about the online stuff and viral online. We tend to forget about word of mouth, and so great to be thinking about ways to encourage people to spread the word about your book.
Yeah, and I have to say, John, to put a cap on that one, I mean, I really am proactive. I do everything that I can. Even after 35, 37 years, I'm still aggressively proactive. I'm doing it every day, and it doesn't happen by accident, and I love every minute of it.
Yeah.
Okay, number 17, obviously having your own list is crucial. And a lot of people say the money is in your list. And I would say the money is not in your list, but it's in the follow up and follow through. So it doesn't matter how big your list is, unless you're going to follow up and follow through and develop very, very powerful, coercive messages, nothing's going to happen. So everywhere I go, always on my list, on my emails, I'm telling people, and I'll tell you now, go and get a copy of my free book at turbosuccess.com. Turbo Success, How to Reprogram the Human Biocomputer. I don't know how many millionaires it's helped create, but a lot. And you can get a free copy of it. And I'm always putting that down my list, the follow up and the follow through, telling people powerful, powerful messages all the time. And that Turbo Success is my gift to the world. I don't know how many tens of thousands of copies we've given away, but people listening to this message now need to develop something of their own that can go down their list, that that people love and get a whole load of value out of, and they go, wow, because if you turn them on, they will become a customer for life, and that is where the real money is. I've had people with me for 10, 20, 30 years. It's unbelievable. And funnily enough, I had a guy this morning, he wanted something from me, mentoring or whatever it was. I said, well, just tell me what products of mine you've read. And he listed them all out. And he says, I've listened to the audios too. And I said, oh, we can do something together, because obviously we're already talking the same language. It's not going to be a hard sell. He's halfway there already. Fantastic. And I'm saying, that follow up and follow through to your list is crucial. Don't just sit on a list, follow up and follow through.
Yeah. And absolutely critical for building that relationship. You know, I've heard people say the money's in the relationship with the list, and that, I mean, it's very much the same thing. Without that follow up and follow through, there is no relationship. It's just a one-time thing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Next little bit of pragmatic advice: everything takes the time it takes. Now, in this industry, your writing's going to take time, your marketing's going to take time, your promotion's going to take time. But the point is, it's all accumulative. So I wrote that first book in 1977. I'm embarrassed to tell you. I don't feel I'm deserving of the money, but every 3 months I still get money coming in from that book. How can it be, right? But it took time to do, and I put the time and effort in, but it's still selling. And the audio has been done by Peter Hobday and Valerie Singleton, and I'm on there 40 years old, but it's still bringing in money every month. How can that be? So it doesn't matter really if you've got to put the energy and the time into your writing and your marketing. You're building up a brand. You know, if people like one Ron G Holland product, they might like the next and the next, and if they like the books, they might like the audios, and so it goes on, and it's fantastic. So don't be frightened of investing the time into your writing, into your marketing, into your promotion to become successful. And John, you know this better than anybody here. You and me, 9 o'clock at night, whatever, we're putting the time and effort and energy in still. We're loving it. But the point is, I'm trying to get a message over. There is no free lunch. We don't want to put people off, but you've got to work at this. If you're going to have the big results, you've got to put the energy in. You've got to put the time in, the work, the effort, and have fun doing it, and then the money will come.
Yeah. And can I share one of my favorite sayings with you, Ron, that very germane to this?
I love your sayings.
Well, I can't take credit for it, but it's one I like to share. An entrepreneur is somebody who will spend a few years of their life living like most people won't, so that they can spend the rest of their life living like most people can't. And that's the staying up late at night to do the phone calls and stuff like that. But say it can be fun at the same time. And you emphasize this point by mentioning the fact that you're still getting royalties on a book that you wrote back in 1977. So
how could that be? How could that be? And the funny thing is, I had so much fun not only writing that book, but initially promoting it. Don't forget, in those days, John, there was no internet. It was full page adverts in the magazines and newspapers. That's how we did it. But I made it happen, and it was a huge amount of fun. Huge amount of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Next little pragmatic pointer, and this is a gem. Recognize the green shoots of success. And often in marketing on the internet and Kindle and all, recognize that getting your first dollar in is crucial. And then you can say, well, the internet is so big. If I can get $1 in, I can get $10 in. If I can get $10 in, I can get 100 and 1,000 and 10,000, because this is something that you can snowball up and leverage. But a lot of people, I've talked to them, and I've nearly been one of those people myself. Oh, $1. I was really expecting 3,000, $1, and they poo-poo it, and they've missed the point. But that was a green shoot of success. And I want to labor that point, that first dollar, that first $10, and then say, well, wow, with the internet behind me, I can leverage this. I can put viral behind it. I can put the marketing clout behind it. I can put the $1 trillion infrastructure behind my little formula of getting $1 in or $10 in. And again, I come back to that silence, stillness, and solitude, that no mind, that vibrating your mind at a higher level than you would normally vibrate at, to say, wow, if I've had $1, if I've had, Ron says I can go to the next level and the next level, particularly with the internet behind you. And that is a valuable lesson. Don't say, oh, only $1. What can I do with $1? Only $10. No, that is a green shoot. You could fly with that. You've cracked it. All you got to do now is roll it out and leverage it up.
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. That first dollar is that critical proof of concept, and then you can improve, iterate, and scale from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So Ron,
my last.
I was going to say,
go on.
I feel like we should have a drum roll here, because we've covered 19 points. Where you can see I've been scribbling down notes all the way through here. This is number 20. I'm looking forward to what you got for this one.
Well, this is the coup de grace, because it really is the essence of Ron Holland. And I'm going to tell you what it is, because over a 30, 40-year period, obviously I've put a lot of stuff out there, a lot of books, and many, many people have said to me, Ron, if there was just one thing to do that we got to do to create phenomenal success, what is it? And I'm going to share it with you. And it's not necessarily something to do with publishing or anything. It's just success in general. But the one thing you got to do, and I really do believe this from the bottom of my heart, is meditate. And you remember that 1981 book, Talk and Grow Rich, first chapter, The Principle of Power. When you become quiet, it just dawns on you. So the whole chapter is about silence, stillness, and solitude. And I'm still 30 odd years on talking about no mind and getting your mind to vibrate at a higher level than the other 6 people on the planet. And you've got to find a way of getting your biocomputer working like a computer. Most people are completely oblivious that they've got a neck-top computer. They've got 2 computers in their mind, a right brain and a left brain. And most people are completely incongruent in their thinking. Their words are not matching their pictures. And I'm saying, with a little bit of no mind, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning religiously to do my meditation, my no mind, my silence, stillness, and solitude. And I couldn't do without it. It's crucial. And if you're going to embark on this self-publishing thing, that I hope you do, I hope I haven't said anything tonight that's going to put you off, because this is such an exciting industry, but I've tried to give you some pragmatic information. And I'm just saying, what will pull it all together for you is a little bit of meditation, time in silence, stillness, and solitude, going into no mind. And during the day, I snatch those seconds of no mind. Could be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 40 seconds. But I know when you stop thinking, those 2 hemispheres, the right brain and the left brain, communicate with each other. And the other thing is, once you start programming all these goals that you're going to be selling thousands of books, of making money and having dollars coming in from all over the world, having that mind assimilate all of that and think about it, and really and truly, what you're doing is harnessing your billion-dollar biocomputer. You're harnessing your subconscious mind. And I don't think you can make a success out of anything, let alone self-publishing, unless you do harness your billion-dollar biocomputer. So that's my last pragmatic tip, and I believe that's the most pragmatic and useful of them all, because I know if people start doing it, their lives will turn around slowly but surely.
Yeah. And thanks for that great success tip. I just want to add to that, you know, one of the things that I notice with interviewing lots of very successful people on the podcast is that most of them meditate, and over and over again, meditation comes up as one of the key rituals in their lives that allows them to be successful and be performing at such a high level. And you know, which would it be Turbo Success? Which of your books would you recommend people read to, you know, get a handle on how to do that?
John, I recommend all of them, but they can get Turbo Success for free. Turbo Success, How to Reprogram the Human Biocomputer. Go to turbosuccess.com and download the free book, but also tell all your friends about it, because they will pat you on the back. They will love you because it's such a powerful book. So
And that's point 16, by the
get
way.
the free book. No, that's what? Oh, is it?
Yeah,
what do you mean,
well,
16?
the viral thing, getting people to share your book.
Oh,
So,
love it. I love it. I slipped that one in there, John.
yeah.
The other thing is, I would like to say, John, if I could just give out my email address for a reason.
Yeah,
so
well, I was
can
going to ask you how
contact me.
people can follow up with you. So please go
Yeah,
ahead.
if they
give
need
us,
to get hold of me. But there's something special I've got for some people tonight. So I'll say it, then I'll spell it. It's topbizguru at hotmail.com. So TOPBIZGURU, topbizguru at hotmail.com. But I would say, for the first 20 people who send me an email, I will send them a free audio. So Amazon ACX have kindly given me some promotional codes. Now, I can't promise which book it's going to be. And a lot of my books are to do with network marketing, but they're there. People will love them. And all I ask for first 20 people, I send out a free audio. And all I'm saying is, I hope you enjoy it. They're about $20 on Amazon Audible. But just give me a review. That's all I ask.
That's great. And so you've given us the address for Turbo Success. And what's your main website, Ron?
No, that's it. Don't diversify. Just go and have a look at that. If you get that free book, you'll get sites from me. You'll get goodies. You'll get freebies. You'll get love from Ron Holland. You'll get everything.
Okay, great. Well, Ron, thank you so much. I've got a whole page of notes here on these 20 points you've shared with us. Thank you for being a guest on the Self-Publishing Summit. Always good to chat to you. And thanks for giving us such great content and really covering a huge breadth of stuff and some really critical points and some very practical, pragmatic steps, which I think are really important for being an author, building the business and all of that. So Ron, thanks so much for being part of the Self-Publishing Summit.
Yeah, John, the pleasure's been all mine. And again, thank you once again for putting on the Self-Publishing Summit, because I do think people are going to get such huge value out of this. So thank you as well. And like I say, the pleasure has been all mine, and I look forward to the next one.
Cheers, Ron. Thanks for that. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, John.